Hey everybody, guess what? We have a brand new Jank deck for you guys. Now, I have been getting quite a bit of emails asking me, when are you going to actually give us some Jank to play with? Well, here's some Jank. This is what I've been playing with since the beginning of July. I've been testing it off and on. It's a fun deck. It isn't highly competitive. It's a bit more casual in the sense, but you can still have quite a bit of fun with the deck itself. It has a couple of tricks you can do with it, but so far I've been playing it against, at local events and also during testing nights just with my friends. And it's actually done pretty well surprisingly, against some of the actual more competitive decks that are out there because people don't really see it coming. Now, with that being said, this deck is not extremely competitive. So if you bring this to an event, you may not make the top, but you probably have a little bit of fun playing it. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about this fun, casual Jank deck with everybody's favorite fire truck, Inferno. So when I first started thinking of the concept of this deck, I always was really hyped to play Inferno since Wave 1, but the problem with Inferno is that he costs 12 stars and he only has 11 hit points. And seeing as other characters such as Barrage, have 7 stars and also only having 11 hit points, it's a little bit teetering that Inferno has such a low such a low health point total. But there was a card that changed that. In Wave 3, they released a card called Energy Pack. An Energy Pack says, put on only characters that have 11 stars or more. The upgraded character has +4 health. If we place this on Inferno, he becomes a 15 health character. Yes, that is a bit of a jump and a stretch to, making you jump through loopholes to make Inferno have equal health, close to characters that have, 10 stars. But either way, it's definitely a good way to get him out there and see how he plays. Now, how does this deck play? So the main theme of this deck is mostly disruption. So on your turn, when you play this deck, you're going to find that you're going to have quite a bit of options. So when you first start, you're going to want to flip your character Bumblebee. Bumblebee provides you with Tough 1, and if you flip to the other side, he's going to give you the Pierce 1 to all your characters until end of turn. Firedrive does not flip because he is a Battlemaster. More on him in a moment. Inferno, if you're not sure what he does, when you flip back to his alt mode, return all the upgrades on a character to their owner's hands. When he is in his bot mode, he has 8 attack. Now, what's important to remember is that he has 3 defense on each side, which is huge. You're going to want to make sure that you flip Bumblebee first and then send him your Firedrive. Firedrive lets you draw a card when you attack, so you're going to get some value from that, because you're going to want to fill your hand up with quite a bit of cards. Now, this deck doesn't draw a ton of cards, but there are times where you can fill your hand up enough to use his special ability, which is the duo charge the electrostatic photon cannon. This gun right here is a +3 weapon, which is fantastic in its own right, but it has the additional ability that when this, whenever this creature attacks, or whenever this character attacks, scrap any number of cards from your hand. For each one that's scrapped this way, he gets +1 attack until end of turn. And if we leave the battlefield, put in your Chaos Zone. So let's take a look at the deck and how this plays. So first of all, we're going to go over the actions. Being a heavy blue focused deck, we're going to want to run some cards that helps us out with a bit of mixture of pips as well. So our first 3 cards are going to be Battlefield Report. Battlefield Report is a card from Wave 3. Let's slide these jokers over here. It is a card from Wave 3 that has the secret action subtype. When you play this face down and when your opponent goes to attack you and you flip it up before they flip their battle cards, you get to draw 2 cards and put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So not only will that lets you, draw cards in your hand for the upcoming next turn, but also put some of the double blue pips that you're not currently using back on top of your deck. Good card. Next one we have is One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. This card here is fantastic because you can use it on your Battlemaster. As I mentioned before, being a blue heavy deck, you're going to be defending quite a bit of actual attack, so Firedrive may not always actually go down that quick. But in order to rush that, or also to kind of just get him there to KO him, you can play One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall on Firedrive and then knock one of your opponents out, finish them off, so you can, swing into another person who's not tapped. It's a great card, and it's always a good utility to kind of just hang back on for when you need to finish a game and finish someone off. Doing 3 damage to one of your characters and another opponent's is great. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Quartermaster. Quartermaster is in this deck because we have a couple tricks for some weapons we can swap back and forth. Also, in case Firedrive does die, in case the weapon does disappear, getting it back with Quartermaster is always helpful. I like this card as well. It's a great fix to swap parts, and being able to swap an upgrade on a character or also put a Battlemaster from your KO zone back on one of the characters is great. Next is 3 copies of Security Checkpoint. This is in almost every blue deck, so anytime you see a highly defensive deck, Security Checkpoint is going to be in there. It is a double blue pip card, and each player reveals their hand and scraps all upgrades from it, so it's great for disrupting. Next is Smelt for knocking off an upgrade. The reason why we're only playing 1 upgrade removal as an action is because Inferno has the ability to send all upgrades to their hand. So if you really need to get something off that they actually play down that turn, you can return all the upgrades on your turn. When theirs comes up, they play that 1 upgrade and then you smelt it off on your next turn. Next is 3 copies of Team Up Tactics. You're going to want to keep Inferno alive throughout this game, and healing him too is actually quite vital at times. Because he has an 11 health pool, until you get that energy pack down on him, you're going to want to make sure that you keep him healthy, because he swings for 8, and when he's got a weapon on him that's even more, it's gross. Also, if you choose to target Bumblebee with this, you can draw 2 cards instead. Next is 2 copies of Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt lets us fill our hand up with upgrades. It is an orange pip and lets you scrap the 4 top cards of your deck and put all upgrades in your hand. And last but not least is 2 copies of Work Over Time. When we do our attack with the Battlemaster weapon and we empty some of our hand, the Work Over Time will let us fill that back up so that we can go ahead and draw back up to those amount and, hit someone hard the next turn when we go ahead and swap. It's also kind of cool to next turn play Quartermaster and swap that to Bumblebee and do the same thing and discard a bunch of cards. It surprises them quite a time, does quite a bit of damage. Now, those are our actions for this deck. Here are our upgrades. Now, the upgrades that we're playing are 3 copies of Armed Hovercraft. It is a weapon that can go on Inferno, Bumblebee, or Firedrive, but if you put it on Firedrive and Inferno, since they are ranged characters, you get to do 1 damage to each of your opponents. Now, it's very important to remember that if you're playing against a blue deck or a deck that's playing that you think would have Energon Axe, you may not want to drop this down because you may enable their Energon Axe to be slapped down on their first turn. And since Energon Axe can only go on damaged characters, Armed Hovercraft may be good for later on for pinging people off or just getting in some cheeky damage in. Next is going to be 2 copies of Energon Axe. In case your weapon does fall off, such as the Battlemaster weapon, Energon Axe is a good replacement. You can only put this on damaged characters, so early game, sticking it on one of these guys who's got some damage on them is great. Next is 3 copies of Energy Pack, which we need for this deck. This will only ever go on Inferno. Once you get one on there, you can kind of hold on to another one if you get in your hand just in case it gets removed. But remember, if Inferno has more than 11 damage on him, and then Energy Pack falls off, Inferno will die. Next is 3 copies of Handheld Blaster. Handheld Blaster is pretty basic. You're never going to want to play this on your characters. It's there to be swapped out for a green pip card or just to be tossed to the Battlemaster weapon or swapped out. Next is 2 copies of Matrix of Leadership. Matrix of Leadership can go on Bumblebee specifically, but it can go on any one of your characters you have to. When it's placed on a leader, it gives all your characters +1 to attack and Pierce 1. Now, what's to remember, the Pierce 1 only affects the other characters as well. So if you put it on Bumblebee, he's not going to get that Pierce. It's going to go to all your other characters. Next is 2 copies of Noble's Blaster. Having a fetchable weapon is pretty important. Putting Inferno's attack to 10 or Bumblebee's attack to 6 when he's on his other side is quite relevant. Also, slapping this down on Firedrive early to get some Pierce damage in against a Decepticon can be good. Next, we have 3 copies of Reinforced Plating for Tough 2 because we want to defend lots of blue. And there are a few orange pips in this deck, but most of it is blue. Next is 1 copy of Sparring Gear. We can just slap this right on top of the Reinforced Plating. This is fetchable, so that's the reason why we're playing 1 of it. I play this amount of actual armor in my Superion deck, so matching it to this blue heavy deck was just, simple enough to recreate the effects of a Superion or the Aerobots having lots of armor. And last but not least is spare parts, just to go ahead and keep that Battlemaster weapon on your character. Now, why would I make a deck that isn't very competitive, that doesn't really show, the best of the Autobots in a competitive mindset or something that's available for Gen Con right now? Well, you see, I find that there's a competitive mindset in this game, and then there's a casual mindset. A lot of people come to my videos and they'll ask me, they'll say, Matt, we haven't seen you play at tournaments, or, there's really no record of you, how you play. And I don't want to go around telling people, how well I do or how bad I do at tournaments, but I mean, I would rather just, kind of, let on that anybody can come watch my videos and enjoy them, or just try to use these decks. I'm not trying to make these to, impress anyone or to win at events, or call myself the most #1 Transformers group or website that's out there. I just want to make decks that are fun for people to play. And with that being said, I really recommend that if you're looking for competitive videos with competitive deck lists, that you check out Vector Sigma. Vector Sigma is a good bunch of guys that have done well in the Transformer scene, and they have a lot of good competitive videos, and they have some great thoughts and articles on their website, which is vectorsigma.info. Also, if you're looking to actually go ahead and find some competitive live play stuff, you can check out the guys over on Wreck and Rule, Brian, Joe, and Frenchie, and a couple of new guys that are there. They usually upload weekly videos where they do live plays. It's great for you to, just sit down and watch, and they do some live streams sometime. It's a good group of community. And if you subscribe to their Patreon, I'm not trying to plug their Patreon, you get cool little rewards and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, those are some great videos to watch. Also, you may want to check out Stefan. He has a channel that's called S.Akuma, and he is the gentleman who won the Origins event. Great player, really nice guy, and I really enjoy his channel with his his videos for his uploads. Super great. Some other people that are on YouTube that are making content here is also Jimmy from Transformers TCG Deck Techs. He has a great bunch of videos that you can watch. His decks are very inventive. He likes to build things that are kind of, off the wall. He's a huge fan of Skywarp, so if you can, go make sure you give his channel some love. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other people on here, but make sure you check them out. And anyone who I missed, I'm sure I'll mention you later on. But this is my Inferno deck. It's a lot of fun. Sleeve it up, bring it to a night, and play. The one thing you have to remember is that you may not win all your games, but in the end, as long as you had fun, that's all that matters, right? Yeah. So, with that being said, I do have another video coming out tomorrow, actually, this one's going to come up tonight. The other one's going to come up tomorrow on Gen Con. The other one is a very, very silly deck that is crazy suicidal and doesn't really do very well against bugs. It's called Hellscream, and it uses Captain Starscream and Chop Shop and the Edgewing Scythe, which is pretty funny, and it does some shenanigans. But anyway, we'll talk more about that when I release the video. I'm kind of rambling. I just kind of want to, tell you guys how how this deck plays and talk about some other channels. I guess that's really all I can do. Anyways, I hope you have a good night or a good day if it's in the morning, and good luck at Gen Con to all the peeps that are going to play board games and competitive card games. I wish you the best. If you want to also check out the website topdecktcg.com and use the promo code MATTIFER, you can actually get 10% off your order as well. So if you're looking for cards. And I think that's everything. So yeah, let me know what you think about this deck down below, and who knows, maybe you might surprise some people at one of your local events. Peace.